New at 4:30, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case that could have major ramifications for former President Trump and hundreds of people charged in the January 6th Capitol riot.
The High Court will hear an appeal from a man charged in the deadly insurrection for obstructing an official proceeding. Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes is here to talk a little bit more about what's going on in this case.
All right, Khalif, this comes as Special Counsel Jack Smith asked the High Court to take a closer look at this. So what is this appeal?
The appeal is that this individual was already convicted for participating in the insurrection, and he appealed it. The Court of Appeals down there said, yes, you know what, actually, there was no legal standing for this to take place. And so now the Supreme Court will be hearing this. Specifically, the charge that was brought, they didn't use insurrection, they used this obstruction charge, and where it derived from really doesn't have anything to do, is what their attorneys arguing, to what his client did. Specifically, these types of cases were originally put in place for like documents and, for companies that have done something, and now they've taken a specific document. The first court said, no, yes, his case has no standing. The Court of Appeals actually said, well, this is directly fit on him. So now that's when you have the Supreme Court make an opportunity to say, we have to make a decision. And Jack Smith is saying, give us some direction.
Former President Donald Trump facing these same type of charges. How will this ruling impact him on this?
It will. I mean, he has cases all over the country, right? So let's start there. He has his New York case. He has the Miami case. He has the D.C. case. So there's a number of cases. Will it have an impact on him? It definitely will, because that obstruction portion would be removed, specifically intervening in the process, the counting of the votes. But there are a number of other charges. I mean, he's at 87 plus charges. And so, yes, while that would deliver a blow to the federal government's case, it would not diminish completely the entire case, because if you still have a conspiracy charge and you still have the underlining charges, removing the one of obstruction doesn't stop the entire case at all. But it has ramifications for some of these other folks, specifically folks that have already pled guilty. Because if what you pled guilty to wasn't even legally a charge, there'll be some appeals going to figure out, well, how can I get proper due justice? Because right now they won't be having.
Well, so based on the court's makeup right now, how do you see them ruling on this?
And that's the crazy part about it. I can say I hate and I disdain the Trump-appointed versus Obama-appointed process, but that is where we are at now politically. Even though the justices can say that they try to rule on the rule of law, the most recent rulings that we've seen have tended to fall along party lines. And so the first judge that saw his case, the first U.S. court judge, was a Republican Trump-appointed judge. Those Court of Appeal judges were not Trump-appointed judges. And you see, they ruled against the complainant. I think when this case goes to the Supreme Court, they will have to really take a fine-tuned look at what this says. And I do believe that they will rule in favor of the complainant, which would say that that type of charge would not be uniquely set for what they're attempting to use it for. So the government could do a couple of things. They could recharge with insurrection, and that could still be there, or they can go back, and some of those folks that have already pled guilty to that, they may be getting their cases.
And when that could happen?
I mean, they'll hear. They've already agreed to hear.
Yeah.
That's the first part. He's asking for it to be expedited. Why? Because we have a pending election that's around the corner. Now, the court can make a decision to do whatever they want. I would anticipate, because they are in tune with what's happening, i.e. election, that they'll want to do it sooner than later. Typically, you see something in the next 4 to 6 months.
Okay. All right. Khalif Rhodes, thanks for always your good legal perspective on everything, and political as well.
And this isn't the only major news to come out of the High Court today. Justices will also hear their first abortion case since Roe v. Wade was overturned a year ago. The justices will review a decision that would make the abortion pill, mifepristone, less accessible. Coming up at 5, Khalif will be back to join Morgan Francis and Alicia Barnes to talk about where he thinks this case will go and how it could impact millions of people in the Carolinas.